Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. We're here today to talk about lease abstracts and executing those with AI instead of a long manual review process. For the audience out there, quick introductions and an overview. My name is Connor. Joining me today is our Director of Product Growth, Mehrad. Mehrad spends most of his day meeting with customers, talking to them about the use cases that our agents can be applied to and helping them automate their workflows. So he's going to be a great resource for us to have here today. He'll actually be the star of the show when we get to the demo portion. So you're probably going to like hearing him talk a lot more than you're going to like me. For the presentation today, if you're not familiar with Kolena, we'll do a quick overview right off the bat, just 30 seconds. We'll talk about the problem that we're here to address, and then we'll lay out the solution and what we've solved here at Kolena. And as I mentioned, Mehrad's going to give us a live demonstration in an active production environment. And so let's get started here. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it very much. So at Kolena, our mission is to automate document-heavy workflows with transparent and reliable AI. You'll hear that theme a lot throughout this presentation. We use AI agents to execute these tasks. Today, we're here to talk about real estate, which is why I see some of our real estate customers here on the screen. And specifically, we're here to talk about property acquisition due diligence and the lease abstraction portion there. Now, there are a lot of other use cases in real estate that we help our customers address. So keep in mind some of these on the screen. And we don't only work in real estate. So if you have friends or fans in loan underwriting, regulatory compliance, I come from a compliance company myself, send them our way. We'd love to talk to them. But as I mentioned, today we're here to focus on just one use case, which is lease abstraction with AI, because that's an extremely critical path in due diligence. And so if you leave today with one thing, it should be how to go from leases and amendments into your Excel-ready lease abstracts much quicker than what you're doing today. So in acquisitions, speed is everything. You start with the pre-offer, you go through the LOI, and then you hit this big red bump in the road here, the due diligence. There's a lot of back and forth. And Mehrad, if you could jump in here and explain why this piece of acquisitions takes so long and what the problem is here.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you everyone for taking the time to listen to us chat about this today. I think what we are seeing out with our customers is that there's two main reasons why the due diligence phase takes a while. One is the problem of document completeness. So, you receive a batch of documents, you want to make sure that you have everything, and then just that back and forth to get the documents that you need is contributing to the time consumption here. The other phase is usually due diligence packages for large acquisition opportunities are very heavy in terms of the amount of information that is provided. So processing all of that information and not just processing them, but ensuring that they're accurate, they reflect the right information. For example, the leases match the rent roll if you're processing a 200-unit property. You want to make sure that all your risks are addressed. So identifying those risks and being able to find solutions for them during that period all contribute to this. Now, if you, as part of this, add the delays that currently exist with getting, let's say, a lease abstract or building an internal rate of return package, putting the delays for those into this process, you'll see this getting prolonged and prolonged. So what we're going to focus on today is basically speeding two things. One is identifying missing documents, and I'll show you how that works very quickly, and then asking for additional documents, as well as being able to identify risks, understand the leases at scale very fast, and be able to build financial models for those properties very quickly.
Cool. Thanks, Mehrad. And then there's a second part of this problem, because the easiest solution is, well, if we want to use AI, let's use ChatGPT, let's use Copilot, let's use Claude. The problem there, as we've seen with ourselves and with a lot of customers, the context is extremely limited. You have to go one document at a time. If you get an amendment, you have to change the entire context of the conversation. As you increase the context, the chances of hallucination increase as well with these tools, because they're not purpose built for this scenario. And so what you really need is something that can output to your exact template, not a chat-based interface that gives you just chat that you have to copy and paste and then reformat in your tool. And Mehrad, do you have anything else to add here? I know there's one other gap that I'm missing on the slide here.
Yeah, as I mentioned, when you're outsourcing some of these tasks like abstractions, if you're not using some of these tools today, that adds a whole layer of, I want to say, like problem or opportunity for optimization and better flow, because it takes a while to onboard a third party contractor to get you to the place that you want to be in terms of the abstract quality and details, but also changing those, extracting new information. It's an inflexible setup. So if you have a lease that is in a new area that you didn't think before, like it's a new lease type that you were not looking at before, or new nuances come up with in terms of regulation that you haven't thought about before, those all add delays when you're dealing with third-party contractors.
And so the solution here, obviously you're here to see Kolena. And so the solution is Kolena, our AI for real estate product, which uses multiple specialized agents in one workflow. And so it's a simple input of dropping your documents in, having the agents that have been developed by your team and our team together do their work in just a couple of minutes, and then putting it out in an output that is the template that you want to work off of, whether that's in Excel, whether that's another tool like Yardi that you need to populate, or any underwriting models that you have. And so this is a quick graphic of how it all works, but Mehrad, let's actually see it in production here so that people can see what we're talking about.
Sweet. Okay, great. I'm going to start sharing my screen. So basically, this is what our product's landing page looks like. And think of each of these boxes as an agent that is specialized in performing a task over and over again. So it's an automation piece. And this task is basically a task that requires reviewing a large body of documents and outputting an analysis and extraction that is consistent, that is based on what you need, and it's also integrated well with your system, with your setups. So just a very quick overview. Each box does one thing, as I mentioned. This one does lease analysis for acquisition due diligence, which we're going to go over. This one generates ETL files for Yardi, just a few other things. This one operates extract information, financial information from leases. This one generates investment memo, so on and so forth. So each of these agents could be programmed so that they provide the exact information that you want in the format that you want. So as I mentioned, I'm going to take a deeper dive in the lease analysis for acquisition agent. So here I went inside that agent. Before I go into the details of how the agent works, I want to show you what a completed agent would look like. So this agent it has input and output integration. So that means you're able to send an email to this email address with your lease and amendments. The email gets processed, all the information gets extracted, a template will be filled out, and an email will be sent back to you with the extracted information. So the way this works, I'm just going to drag and drop a new lease into the agent to show you how a completed process looks like. So this PDF is going to get processed. It has the lease details. While that processing is happening, I'm going to show you what an output looks like. So we have a lease on the left-hand side. This is a lease that we found online that is publicly available. And then the template that we have set up for this is this template. So again, lease goes in, template comes out. I'm going to share my entire screen so that I can show you the abstract itself. Perfect. So yeah, so the lease goes in, and then this abstract that we have put together for this lease comes out. So this can be your own template with all the details that you have. This is what the end-to-end workflow looks like. I'm just going to jump back to the agent and show you some of the details and capabilities of the platform here for that process. Let me just share this. Okay, sweet. So here for this agent, so for every lease, let's say now you've gone through the exercise of setting this up, and note that we help you with setting this agent, setting agents up for you, so you don't need to be fully aware in how to set agents up. I'll show you how easy that is as well, but we'll help with setting this up for you also. So on the left-hand side, we'll see the lease, which should be familiar, clauses, rent schedule, and all the details. And on the right-hand side, we have the list of information that I want to extract from this lease. I'm going to switch to the report view so that we see the actual value. So we have some information about the lease itself. I asked for lease opportunities and risk on the financial, operational, rights and flexibility, and the physical property. There is some additional due diligence with each section on co-tenancy, so on and so forth, exclusive use, prohibited use. This one is very interesting. I am basically checking the lease and the lease type against state-specific regulations. So I'll show you how that works as well. And some reports on responsibility, who's responsible for what within the lease, and the rent schedule, as well as analyzing lease clauses, which is very common. So this table basically goes through all the lease clauses, provides you the full text, and also a summary of the text for that lease clause. So this is sort of the overview of the data that we have set up. I want to talk about a few things. I think the lease summary is pretty simple. I'm not going to go into it. But the things that I want to highlight here is that each one of the requests or extractions consists of three main components. One is the actual information that you asked for, which is all the specific parameters that I've asked the agent to produce, as well as the inline citations. So the citations takes you to the exact document and a page within the document where that information was pulled. This is highly valuable because you get leases that go back 30 years with 10 amendments, many documents that you need to process. This takes you exactly to where things are pulled from. And then lastly is the reasoning section. The reasoning section is, again, very helpful in understanding what was processed and what the agent was thinking when it developed the answers that is presenting to you. For example, on the termination rights, you see the landlord has termination rights for tenant default, Article 18, causality section, so on and so forth. So we find our customers find this highly valuable in better understanding how the outputs are generated. So there's a couple of things I wanted to highlight. One is there's different types of data that you can pull from your lease. So here, as I showed you, this is a form output, basically field value pairs. We have table format here. I'm asking it to generate a table with section references of all the responsibilities. The one that I kind of liked, I wanted to highlight here is this web search capability. So basically, I asked my agent to identify the state where the lease is in, and then do a web search on that state within United States, and give me anything that I need to know from a regulatory perspective on this particular lease or opportunity. So there are some commercial lease regulations there's the Commercial Tenant Protection Act, talks about notice for rent increases, put some minimum requirements on that, some requirements that are part of that regulation, as well as this one, which is specific to fitness studio regulation. This is a lease for a sort of fitness studio. So there's some regulations that are specific to that type of lease, which our agents are able to search online, multiple queries, and find information there as well. Okay, so with all of this information sorted out, we have, as I mentioned, templates that basically they match your exact format, font, and we can fill out your template with all the information that you want to be filled out for that particular lease. So this lease particularly looks at risks in terms of acquisitions. You can set up leases to extract all the language from different clauses and all that. I'm going to highlight not this section, but the executive summary section that I have put together, risk and opportunities. So we have risks around financial obligation, operational risk, and you can add to these very simply. All right, very quickly, I want to show you how a new prompt or question is asked. So for example, here, I'm just going to create a prompt. I'm going to ask my agent to create a table focusing on amendments with the following columns. I'm going to ask for amendment number, what is changed in the amendment. So the process of setting a new prompt or extraction is as simple as having a conversation with a colleague. So what our agent does is that it takes this information in, it takes the lease that is provided into context and the information that is already pulled out, and then creates a rewritten prompt that is in a table format, for example. So I'm going to create this. So what this does is that it just goes through the documents and then creates a list of amendments and the changes that are made in each amendment. While this extraction is being run, I want to highlight one important feature here is that when you ask a new question from your lease, that question is answered from all the leases that are available in that extraction. So if there is a new question that you have with regards to a risk, with regards to something that you want to highlight, you don't need to go through each individual lease separately. You just ask that question, and then you'll see that, hey, there's a First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment in this lease. Each one has some changes. There's an extended term here to 5 years. There is expand the premises to include additional 10,000 square feet and provide a tenant with an option to purchase the property. There's a purchase option here as well. And then one quick thing here, the process of adding or hydrating or providing additional information is just as simple as creating those. So I'm just going to make an improvement to this. I'm just going to say add a column with the full text of the proposed change or of the proposed of the change in the amendment. So just like that, again, we can improve an existing prompt to provide additional information for us. And again, that question is answered for all the leases that are on the platform. So here, we added the full text. I'm just going to go ahead and save this. So what this means is that the process of building and iterating on or asking new question is going to be very quick, which is going to save a lot of time for asset managers or folks who are focusing on acquisitions, because they can simply ask these questions to the AI. So we talked about this. I'm going to very briefly talk about two other aspects of the acquisition due diligence. So here it was the legal aspect of it for lease analysis. What we can set up an agent for is we can do a lease audit, basically compare the rental information against the leases that are provided. So this one does exactly that. So if I download this template, and I'm just going to quickly switch to my entire screen so that you see the type of data that was provided. Let's share. So this one does a rent audit, and it fills out an Excel sheet with information available from the leases, information available from the rent roll, and variations. So what is the difference? Hey, the rent roll says these are the deposits, but the lease says these are the deposits. Here's the lease audit result for you. And then one last thing is the due diligence aspect. So the property acquisition internal rate of return analysis. This one is a simple one. It basically takes in the rental income and T12, which are the expenses of a property, and it fills out an IRR model. So if I pull this up, so you'll see that the agents are able to populate just simple PDF templates as well as very complex models, Excel models like IRR calculations. Like this is all the unit mixes are here in the financials. You have all this information is filled out with the agents using the T12s and rentals. These are like critical components in understanding or assessing an investment opportunity. With that, just a quick summary. Basically, what we have here are agents that each of them can help optimize a specific aspect of the flow. One thing I should actually highlight here is post-acquisition on the asset management side. Now that you've acquired, you need to put it in your VRD, you need to put it in your other lease management solutions. We have agents that can output specific bulk import Excels for you to populate your other solutions. Like this one generates the lease options, book, import, Excel, so that you can just drag and drop into your Yardi and then populate your lease management solution as well. So specific agents built for different aspects of the entire property acquisition, from assessment, risk mitigation, to financial evaluation, to ultimately the asset management sides or property management sides where you have to populate your other lease management solutions, are agents that we can set up, and Kolena can extremely optimize that process. I'll pause here. Yep.
Real quick on your screen there, if you want to share Excel files again, one thing I wanted just to note and have you address is those plugins in the top right there, the Kolena add-ins. How does that work if you're using Kolena but want to work directly in Excel?
Oh, yeah. So we have Kolena plugins here. You see Kolena agents. Basically, this integrates the AI capability into your Excel and Word document. Once the template is mapped or template is built, if an agent is built, you don't necessarily need to come to the platform, come to the UI. There's benefits in coming to the UI, which is the citations and reasoning. But as I mentioned, we have full integration. So here, if you would like, you can try today as well. If you send an email with a lease to this email address, we will generate your abstraction. It seems like somebody has done that already. We will generate your abstraction and you'll get an email back with the filled out report automatically. So there's no need to be on this platform.
Right on. And I got one more question from Benjamin in the chat over here, which is a regular concern that we hear all the time about accuracy and reliability of the answer. So is it an accuracy score, or how do we address that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. From a background perspective, Kolena, we started 5 years ago. We started focusing on model quality assessment. And with the prevalence of large language models, we noticed that the quality control of large language model is a problem that needs focusing on. And outside of that, and out of that build, naturally, we are highly focused on quality and reliability of the outputs. There are many ways that we tackle this. One is every model that we use goes through an extensive benchmarking and analysis before it's made available on our product. These benchmarks look at all sorts of different documents and formats. The other thing that we employ is that each one of these extractions is routed to the right model, but also we request the same information multiple times, and we request the same information from multiple models. And then we compare the answers and we provide the answers when there is consistency within those responses. So there's a lot of the engineering work in the background done to ensure quality and consistency. And then one last thing I mentioned, because you mentioned it early on, is that the hallucination is a big problem with the LLM. So one of the things that we do is that we limit the focus or attention of the models to the documents that you have provided. So if you ask a lease document, hey, who's the president today? It will not answer you that question because that information falls outside of the context. So that is a very simple way of explaining that, but that reduces hallucination significantly.
Cool, perfect. And before we get back to me, real quick, we have one more question that I think you could answer. What are the underlying models that we use for our agents?
Yeah, we have a number of different models. Like some of them are large language models, some of them are not. These are task specific. For example, our agents are able to write code. So that type of problem goes to one model. Our agents are able to read handwritten documents, check boxes that are hand filled. That's a very difficult problem to solve with existing LLMs. That goes to a LLM model where we extract the information from the forms and then goes to the model which our benchmarks showed it has the highest accuracy. So the short answer is we basically leverage most of the existing foundation models that are out there, but they are task specific, and also we use them for quality control purposes.
Right on. Thank you. And we've got one last thing to show everyone here. If you can hand me back the screen, Mehrad. Thank you. And this is where the marketing guy gets to say his piece. So I got a few things I'd like to share and a few things I'd like to ask of you all here. Thank you all for attending. First and foremost, one of our customers that I showed on the first screen, they came to us and they had an acquisition of about 60 leases, and they told us that each lease takes about 4 hours to process, and they outsourced that at $400 an hour. That gets you to close to $100,000 in savings just for one acquisition. And I know many of you that are in the audience right now have more acquisitions that you're dealing with than just one at a time. So this can scale pretty quickly and handle a tremendous amount of volume. If you liked what you saw today, there's a couple ways that you can interact and see more. One, the thing that I like the best is if you would like to request a demo, our team can get something set up tailored to your specific needs, your specific templates, and have it ready to go and show you what the outputs are and show you what the value is just within a quick call. Second, we've got a newsletter that we've recently launched. We only have one edition out so far, and this month has been real estate focused for us. And so that newsletter, the Kolena Brief, came out and talks about a lot of different things in the newsletter. Each edition, we will talk about one specific agent that we have in production and how that solves use cases for our customers. We talk about some news in the industry, and then we talk about what's going on at Kolena, what we're building next, and things like that. It's some pretty cool content. I source a lot of the knowledge from some of the experts around our company here, and so you can gauge that way. You saw my friend Molly Barr there in the chat sending some links to you. If you'd like to use the agent that Mehrad just demoed today, please send your documents directly into that email, and you'll get the output just in a couple of minutes right back to your email. And we do, in the top right there, if you see, we do have a public lease abstract agent that is slightly different than what Mehrad demoed, but that's easy to just drop your leases in on our website and get a response to your email the same exact way. Again, I want to thank you all for being here. We'll get you out 1 minute late. I appreciate your time. Have a good rest of your day, folks.